And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bubba and the Bloom, episode 157. It's a Thursday evening, so that means we are previewing the week in FAAB ahead. Week 20 coming at you here this weekend, so we'll get you ready with schedules and most added at CBS and two-start pitchers and all the good stuff that comes with that and much, much more on the show as usual. First off, you can find me on Twitter at BDN. Check the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod and my co-host, as always, on Twitter at RyanBHQ. Ryan Bloomfield, how we doing, my friend?
We're doing great. Happy new month, my friend. We have entered. We are officially entering dog days. I saw a lot of tweets today saying that there's football later this month and yada yada, which is cool and all. But we will be here and see this thing out for you all through to the end of the season. So don't abandon us quite yet. Still got plenty of season to go.
Yeah, we do this 52 weeks a year, so we ain't ever going to stop. So you don't have to worry about us.
No matter what stuck sport. With you, man. I'm stuck with you. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of saw it the other way around, but okay, we'll go with that. But yeah, no, it's football's here. You guys have fun with that. We'll be here talking baseball like usual, doing our thing. Hope the trade recap helped you guys out, talking the fantasy angles of things there. So that was a lot of fun. There'll be a lot more of that getting intertwined into the FAAB preview this week as Hunter Strickland has had the first two save chances in Anaheim, just blew one. So we'll talk about that. But there's a lot of situations like that is what I'm trying to get at that we'll still be deciphering as the weekend goes along. But let's get to some news and notes, Ryan, if you're ready to rock and roll with this thing. Again, we'll talk FPAS once in a while. It's not every episode, everybody. Don't be worried about that. We won't drown you with it. But if you like to golf, hit us up.
Yeah, hit us up. Golf, Sunday. Yeah. Early bird registration, Friday. That's it. We'll stop.
There you go. News and notes from the last couple of days since we last spoke, Ryan. Mike Trout, his season comes to an end as he tore his meniscus yet again in his knee. I've seen some stats where the second half numbers from Trout, the most games he's played in the second half the last 4 years is 40 games. Most are in the single digits. Two of them are zeros, I believe. So it's been a rough go for Mike Trout. It sucks. You and I have been fortunate enough to see him in his heyday. So that's pretty awesome. There's some people I don't think that have been quite as lucky, unfortunately, but there's probably not a lot of fantasy thoughts here, but I just wanted to bring that up top to show that we will not get to see one of the best players at one point compared to like a Mickey Mantle of our era not play again this season.
Yeah, I don't know how this one felt for you, but for me, it felt like extremely solemn. Like we are losing. I feel like we are losing, getting cut short, one of the best players in the history of the game's back half of his career. This to me, a comedian, when I saw it today, I was like, this feels a lot like Ken Griffey Jr. when we had, the first half of his career, which was just so damn good. And then the Cincinnati days and injuries, I felt like we got robbed of the second half of his career. And I don't know, maybe Trout just kind of magically comes back and starts playing full seasons again at some point. Seems like the odds are against him. And it just, it sucks that, so it's kind of funny you mentioned, like, yeah, a lot of people probably don't, I know we sound old, don't remember, didn't see much of Mike Trout. We were talking about him like he's dying or something, but
it's been like 6-7 years since the prime.
It really has. And when he was in his prime, it was West Coast night games on the Angels
it's what Ohtani mania is now.
Exactly.
So
as a West Coaster during his prime, like it was awesome. And I just feel like this is probably one of the, in addition to being one of the best primes of all time, feel like no one really saw it. Not enough people saw it or appreciate it. So anyway.
Yep. No, I'm with you. And hopefully, like we keep saying, it seems like every year now, hopefully we get to see it again. But I'm with you. I'm starting to feel like it's not going to happen, unfortunately. So we'll see. He's still young. Yeah, technically.
He is. And actually, just to give some fantasy tilt, some fantasy spin to this, our good friend and our Lord, Todd Zola, put out a poll today. Mike Trout heals up over the off. Let's assume Trout heals up over the offseason, looks good at spring training. His late March ADP is, and he has some options, top 150, 150 to 200, 201 to 250 or later. 70% said top 150. 17% said 151 to 200 would be Trout's ADP if all looks good next March.
Yeah, like I know I'm talking fresh from the hip here because it just happened, but the way I know I draft, and you probably might be in a similar boat, I don't know, probably just not on my board, unfortunately. I just don't want to deal with it type thing. So Again, that's off-season discussion, but it's going to be interesting to see where that lands for sure. What is interesting is Jordan Westberg, who's been great this season, heads to the IL with a right hand fracture from a hit by pitch just a day after his teammate James McCann was hit in the face and proceeded to play with gauze in his nose and almost a closed eye. Like, it was amazing to see. And McCann came out after the Westberg thing and said, this is why, even as a hitter and as a catcher, pitchers need something, suntan lotion, something to be able to grip a baseball. So we've seen this a lot this year, Ryan, a lot of hit by pitches, breaking wrists, forearms, a lot of these things this year, which is kind of a bummer. So Jordan Westberg, broken right hand fracture. The Orioles are hoping to have him back by season's end. If we need to have a positive here, Coby Mayo is expected to get called up on Friday.
And Jackson Holliday. I mean, that was the direct move, I believe, with Westberg was Holliday getting called up and taking
Holliday was called up to take Connor Norby's spot when he got traded to Miami.
Okay.
Because Holliday was playing second base the game Westberg got hit in the hand.
Gotcha. See, that's why we keep you around. Keep up
useless
on
information, but every once in a while I come through.
But it does open. I mean, what Westberg did play second and third. Holliday, I mean, it seems like is the everyday second baseman at this point. Hit that 40-foot grand slam in his first game back. Jackson Holliday is, I checked before the show, 37% rostered in NFBC 12-teamers. So that is going to be another kind of wild wrinkle to what should be a pretty crazy upcoming FAAB weekend. Is, Jackson Holliday was admittedly awful, struck out in half of the plate appearances in his 2-week sample back in April when he was up in the majors. Have no idea if it'll click this time around. At some point it is going to click, but that's certainly could, and then you get the playing time on top of it. So that's another interesting thing. And we will see about Mayo. Do you think he plays every day? It seems like a pretty clean swap for Ramon Urias, but
yes,
we know Baltimore and prospects this year. I don't want to jump to conclusions.
On paper, it looks pretty easy to do, and luckily we'll have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to see how this plays out before you have to play your high bids or low bids in for Coby Mayo. But I would imagine the fact they're actually calling him up, because they didn't call him up at first. They called Levon Soto up for a day, and now they're sending him back out to bring Coby Mayo up, who went 4 for 6 on Thursday at AAA, to basically say, hey, guys, you remember me? And then they called him up after the game. So I'd imagine that there's no reason to bring him up. But like you said, the Orioles, Heston Kjerstad's back in AAA now because the shell of Eloy Jimenez is going to take his roster spot. So who knows what the Orioles are really doing.
Who is still injured, by the way.
Yeah, still injured, which is awesome. What are you doing here, folks? So I'd say yes to Coby Mayo, but like you said, it's the Orioles, and they've burned us a lot this season.
Who would you, all things being equal, who would you put more FAAB shillings on this weekend? Jackson Holliday or Coby Mayo?
Oh, Holliday, because he's locked in. He's locked in. Where I believe Mayo's locked in, but I'll take Holliday and his pedigree second time around. This is Mayo's first real good crack at it. I'll take my chances on Holliday.
Yeah, agreed. I'm with you.
All right, we kind of mentioned it. I just want to full circle back to the trade show here. When we talked to Luis Garcia, formerly of the Anaheim Angels, getting traded to Boston, and we discussed, hey, as the season goes on, you're looking for good eighth inning arms, you're looking for guys in case something happens, like if you still want to spec, whatever. Luis Garcia was, he got a save like the day before he got traded. He's shown good stuff this year. And I was saying, and with Kenley Jansen, he's getting old. He's got back issues. If anything were to happen to him, it's Garcia's world, and Boston's playing darn good. Well, didn't take long, Ryan. Less than 48 hours. The Red Sox are saying Kenley Jansen is day-to-day with lower back soreness, which could linger on and off the rest of the season, of course. So that was Luis Garcia comment for me.
Yeah, and I actually watched the game because it was against the Mariners, and I think there were 2 outs in the 9th. Jansen was pitching, and they stopped the game. And trainer came out, Cora came out. Jansen, I guess, persuaded them to stay in and got the save, but now we get this. So yeah, Luis Garcia, who I think we both picked up in hopes that he would be the Angels closer, and I was getting ready to drop because he would not be the closer on the Red Sox. I am now probably waiting and seeing what this diagnosis looks like for Kenley Jansen the rest of the way. I don't think Luis Garcia is like anything special. I mean, he's 37 years old, has a 3.71 ERA with skills that are like pretty much right in line with that. But possession is 9/10 of the law with closers, and Red Sox, there should be plenty of chances. So yeah, Luis Garcia, I think, is definitely that plan B. And who knows with back injuries and stuff, as theme of the show, back injuries linger. So
Yep. I can relate. So it's all good there. Christian Walker, not a back injury, an oblique injury. He heads to the IL. It's a minimal strain. It's the best case scenario. So probably talking 2 to 3, 4 weeks max, but at least 2 weeks for Christian Walker to be out. We mentioned on the Tuesday night show that Josh Bell was acquired to take his spot on the roster, and Pavin Smith was already sent back. So that's how things work here. But just wanted to update that because we have the official information now that we didn't really have on Tuesday with Christian Walker's severity of his oblique injury.
Josh Bell time, if that's an actual time, I don't know, but
he was hitting very well before he got traded. So
he was another one I was ready to cut because he was waived, but I guess I'll hold on to Josh Bell and 15 teamers for the next couple of weeks.
Just a scotch longer. Evan Carter, this one's weird. He was rehabbing well, going to go out on a rehab assignment, tweak something. Now Evan Carter is going to be out for the rest of the season with his back injury, back to the back injury situation. So just anybody that was holding hope for Evan Carter, you can move on from that. And it just keeps gets to keep some of the other guys there. We were kind of speculating on losing their gigs should stick around a little longer.
Yeah, like Josh H. I think he sticks around as long as he keeps hitting. Brutal year for Evan Carter. I looked earlier today because I'm actually writing him up for Baseball HQ for next week. Had like a 110 ADP.
Yeah, he was high.
Was I think the high, maybe Churio by the end of the draft season was the highest rookie, but yeah, that was tough for Evan Carter.
Yeah, I remember it was a lot of the should you take Carter or Langford as your Texas guy? And at first it looked like neither, but now Langford's starting to play a little better, so could be interesting to say the least.
Yep.
All right, week 20 FAAB time, Ryan. Let's get crack-a-lacking on it. Let's talk. We'll start with our usual schedules. When you look at the schedules right now, what stands out to you?
Let's see. No 8 gamers this week for the first time in a couple weeks. Bunch of 7-game teams: Atlanta, Cincy, Cleveland, Miami, Minnesota Mets, Phillies, your Giants, and the Washington Nationals. And then on the flip side of that, both the Chicago teams, they must play each other. Yes, there is a Battle of Chicago this coming week. Both of those teams get 5 games. And then Kansas City Royals also get 5. So keep that volume in mind. It's a tight race for the best offense in baseball right now per WRC Plus between the Yankees, Orioles, and who am I missing? Dodgers at 119, 118, and 117 respectively. And on the flip side of that, we are reaching new lows, my friend, with the Chicago White Sox at a 74 WRC. That is like, so 100 is league average. 74 is straight up awful. And given the moves that the White Sox made at the deadline, I don't see that getting any better. So yeah, those are the higher level takeaways I got.
Yep. I wrote up the White Sox a couple nights ago for matchups and versus right-handed pitchers over the last month. 67 WRC plus. Like it's, and that was before they traded about any of the talent they had left outside of Lubob. So it's, I can't wait to keep updating those numbers when I write for the rest of the year. It's going to be like probably career lows when all things are said and done. So yeah, fun stuff there. But let's get to it here. All 30 teams, team by team, alphabetical order as usual. Arizona Diamondbacks, they have 7 games this week, 3 lefties, 4 righties. They are at Cleveland for 3 at home versus Philly for 4. So a tough week to stream when it comes to your Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah, tough week to stream. I'll focus a little bit more. I feel like we both tend to focus just on the bats, but I think the big thing in Arizona with FAAB this week is the closer, is Paul Sewald. It's been a very tough stretch for Paul Sewald, to the point where manager Torey Lavulo is pretty much openly questioning whether Sewald will stay in the role. So it seems like it would be AJ Puck coming right in. So it could be kind of funny that we stashed AJ Puck to be the Miami closer and ends up potentially being The Diamondbacks closer, Ryan Thompson, did get the save I think on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday, yes.
Because, Sewald could not finish the inning, so Ryan Thompson got the save. So it's probably one of those two. There's Kevin Ginkel as well, who did get saves early on in the season. It's just something to keep an eye on. If you have Sewald, you may want to be bidding on other closers this coming week in FAAB, because there will be some available as we kind of work through all these teams. And then B, just kind of look at and monitor who they decide to go to if there is a save op and it's not Sewald this week. So that's the big thing I got. The other one, just a super quick, victory lap, Jordan Montgomery.
Yep, he sucks. Question though, I'm gonna do a lot of would you rathers this show because we're getting to that point of the year. Like I had been on this past Monday, guys, we should probably drop that we have not dropped yet. So you mentioned Sewald struggles. Michael C. It's a messy situation. Ginkel was good early in the season. They could mix the match. Yep, totally agree. Like we're talking about guys you know, at this point in the year, at least in 12-team leagues, you should probably think about potentially moving on from. Now, a guy like Paul Sewald, I have him in a couple leagues. I've had him benched for probably the last 3 weeks at least. Just sits there. If you think you're okay in saves, is Sewald the guy you'd be willing to drop?
Yeah. If you're good in saves, almost honestly, it does Sewald, whoever. If you're good in saves, we're almost to the point where like anyone's a drop.
That's my point, because people are kind of like are hanging on for dear life with certain guys, and it's like I don't see it changing anytime soon. And you might get wrong with some guy, but or at least like maybe drop Sewald for Luis Garcia, something like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's we're not quite to the point yet. We still have, a little less than 2 months left. We're not quite to the point where you just like make, I don't want to say rash decisions, but like aggressive drops just based on the standings, because a lot can still change in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it is time to start thinking about that stuff. If Sewald's, like you said, if you've got him on your team and you're not playing him, why do you have him? So
I agree. So that's kind of where I'm at this week. You'll probably be getting dropped this week. And then the other kind of surprise move, which doesn't affect anything yet, but just to keep your eye on, especially if Jordan Montgomery keeps sucking the way he is. And, the D-backs do have Merrill Kelly and Erod coming back in a couple of weeks potentially, but they sent Yilbert Diaz back after pitching great last Sunday, back to AAA. So just keep an eye on that whole situation there, and we might see him again at some point if they're in need of starting pitching, but that does not help you this week.
Erod might be up. I'm glad you brought that up. I know we're spending a bunch of time on the Diamondbacks, but this is big stuff. Erod might be back early next week. RotoWire has him in a two-step next week, August 6th on Tuesday and Sunday.
Really?
I think he has one more rehab outing, and if that goes well, it sounds like Erod could return this coming week.
I'll keep looking at stuff, because last I saw he was throwing a bullpen and supposed to start a rehab next week, but maybe I missed something there, but I was still thinking he was a couple weeks away. But that'll be interesting. If so, that'll be very, very interesting.
Hey man, sometimes I totally make stuff up, but
they have it. That's how the RotoWire sheet. So I'm not knocking you on that one, but that is a bit of a surprise. So I'll be Googling that around while you're talking about the next team here. The Atlanta Braves, they have 6 games next week, 3 at home versus Milwaukee, 3 in wonderful Coors Field. They face 2 lefties and 4 righties, because if they're right in Coors, they have 2 lefties in Gomber and Freeland. So still, it doesn't matter. It's Coors Field. But what are you doing with the Braves this week?
Jorge Soler's lead off. So that's interesting as we start to get some of the early returns, as some of the dust settles from the
Kelenick's back down the order
trade deadline. And thus Jared Kelenic is back down. The Nacho Alvarez experiment did not last very long. Example, 570 of a prospect coming up this year and not hitting out of the gate and getting sent back down. Any interest in Whit Merrifield? Because if we were just talking about like Sewald and saves and stuff like that, if you need stolen bases, I feel like Whit Merrifield could be a guy. He's only hitting like 200. There's 200. No power.
It's brutal.
But he it's a low BABIP. He's making a ton of contact. Like I feel like Whit Merrifield could hit like 250 and steal some bags if he does hold down the job. I do think he's I don't think this is a platoon. I think Whit Merrifield's the everyday second baseman, and he's almost 36 years old, so like maybe he just kind of withers away, but like it's interesting when a speedster picks up everyday playing time with the amount of contact that Whit Merrifield makes. That's kind of all I'm saying.
No, I can see it if you're in desperate need of steals. Yes, otherwise I'm staying far away from Whit Merrifield. But
Yeah.
I could see where you're coming from on that because the talent, he is old, but we've seen it before. Good team, finally getting regular playing time. Like I could see the argument for it, but that'd be, if he could pull that off, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'd be steering clear of that one for sure. Anything else with Atlanta?
Adam Duvall is done.
Yes, he's done. I dropped him. Edward Rodriguez news. Okay, here you go.
Oh, here we go. What do we got?
Yeah.
Did I make something up correctly? Or
no? Yesterday, July 31st. I don't know the results of it. Edward Rodriguez threw a 4-inning simulated game on Wednesday. There's no news on how that went just yet. They said it's possible, if all goes well on Wednesday, that Erod could rejoin the Diamondbacks rotation next week without a rehab start, which shocks me. So he could be in for a 2-step next week. I'm just very surprised for being out for, it feels like 3 months now. No rehab start would be needed.
Yeah.
So we'll wait and see, but that is interesting news.
That does kind of sound like a recipe for a disaster, especially Erod.
Yes. And they're expecting Merrill Kelly back the following week. So keep that on your radar.
Like I'd hold out for Merrill Kelly over
But
Erod.
It's a similar thing. Just simulated games, maybe no rehab. I don't know what the D-backs are doing right now. That makes no sense. All right. Baltimore Orioles, 6 games coming up this week, all on the road. 3 at Toronto, 3 at the Tampa Bay Rays. 2 lefties, 4 righties. Colton Cowser is not available in a whole lot of formats, I don't believe. 98% roster. But my God, he's on a 14-game hitting streak after Thursday. I just wanted to mention that dude is unconscious right now. But anything else stand out to you with Baltimore? Because we mentioned Jackson Holliday. We mentioned Coby Mayo. That seems like that's going to be where a lot of money spent this week.
Yeah, we just covered that at the top, so won't rehash that. Colton Cowser leading off, I think, is huge.
Yep.
It may not be Ryan O'Hearn weeks anymore. A, because at least this week, Baltimore is set up for 4 righties, and B, for better or worse, Eloy Jimenez probably sneaks in and grabs a start or 2 per week at DH, which might affect Ryan O'Hearn. So my love for Ryan O'Hearn, who has DH'd himself each of the last 3 games, just be careful of that. He may not play even like as a regular strong side platoon. I disagree with it. I think you should over Eloy, but that might happen.
Can I interest you in Trevor Rogers by chance? No, I'm just kidding.
Let's bring that one up, man. My man had 5 earned today. Let's go.
Looking good, baby.
Looking good. What a deal.
But so Coby Mayo, Jackson Holliday, let the bidding wars begin, everybody.
Yeah.
All right, Boston Red Sox, they have 6 games coming up this week, 3 at the Kansas City Royals, 3 at home versus the Houston Astros. So if the playoffs started today, they'd be facing one playoff team next week, and that team's the Royals, not the Astros. Keep that in mind. Fun stuff there. I believe that's what I saw. I could be being dumb right now. But 1 lefty, 5 righties for Boston to come up this week, which means your Braves of the world. I doubt Yoshida's widely available anymore, but definitely a heavy lefty lineup could be in play. But wait, I got thrown the heck no basically from you last week. Can we bring up Dom Smith again by chance? Can I bring that up to you?
What did he do?
Can we talk about this real quick?
What did he do? Did he do anything?
Since the All-Star break, Don Smith's hitting 257 with a homer, 5 runs, and 5 RBIs.
That's terrible.
What I want to highlight is a 16% barrel rate and a 52% hard hit rate. The dude is squaring up baseballs, and he's got some fun matchups next week in a deep format. I think if you like Carlos Santana like you like to do, Dom Smith is just in line with him.
I guess. Dude, I thought you'd like be citing some like really good production since you got.
No, I got that when Jake Berger comes along just to get you happy.
He's hitting 257 with 1 home run since the All-Star break. That's good.
Hey, it's the quality of contact I'm looking at. The dude is squaring balls up, and he's going to play 5 of 6 games next week at first base, at least till Tristan Cassis comes back, who started his rehab assignment on Thursday. So he's rocking and rolling. So Cassis could put a wrench into that with his fake swings by midweek, probably.
Yeah, go off on your Dominic Smith victory laps there. Go have fun with
that.
Like
when he poo-pooed me with Jake Bowers. Watch Dom Smith hit like 3 bombs next week.
Yeah, probably. Wouldn't be surprised. For the Red Sox, for me, Masataka Yoshida is hot again.
Yes,
And I don't think this lasts, but for someone who has been so bad for pretty much all of 2024, Yoshida is DHing every day against righties. So you could try and time that hot streak in 15 teamers with Yoshida this week against 5 righties. So I like that. And he's hitting 3rd in the order. So
Yep. I like that quite a bit as well. Chicago Cubs, who walked it off on Thursday night, they get 5 games next week. They get the Minnesota Twins in Wrigley for 3, and they go to the White Sox for only 2, unfortunately. You want to face them as many times as possible. So 1 lefty, 4 righties. I got to double-check this. Yeah, so that means the Cubs play only 2 games in the second half of next week. So keep that in mind. They don't play on Sunday. That's fun.
Okay.
So what's your thoughts on the Cubbies?
I don't have much. Actually, I don't have anything.
No,
really. It's a pretty stagnant lineup. I mean, Cody Bellinger is now back. Isak Brady is just sliding right in where Christopher Morel left. And like, I'm not going to bring up Pete Crow Armstrong for the 20th time this year.
Yeah, it's just not happening right now. So tough. Chicago White Sox, if you want to talk tough, they have 5 games this week. They go to Oakland for 3. Then they come home to face the Cubs for 2. Again, only 2 games on the weekend. 2 lefties, 3 righties. It's the Cubs or the White Sox, so whatever. But I will ask you, are you interested in Miguel Vargas?
I am. This was on our Tuesday trade deadline show. This was someone who I said was one of the biggest kind of low-key winners of the trade deadline if Vargas plays every day. And Vargas has not only played every day, but hit second on Tuesday and Wednesday, playing left field, both against righties. So that's a really good sign because Vargas did not play much at all against righties with LA. So I stand by my Miguel Vargas call. I think Vargas is I'm not guaranteeing anything, but I think he's a pretty good dart throw given the prospect pedigree that Vargas came in with. I think he's a really good player. Just hadn't had the opportunity to play every day and see what he can do in the majors. So he's going to have that now over these last 2 months. So I think a cheap stab at Miguel Vargas could be very fruitful and even in even in 12 teamers. I don't know.
Yep. And I think he'll come very cheap, especially in 12s.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
Keep that in mind. Especially with Mayo and Holliday up, Vargas should fly under the radar a little bit on that one. So could be a fun one indeed. All right, let's go to the Cincinnati Reds. They have 7 games this week, all on the road. They faced all this past week at home, but they had the mixed bag. This week, it's all right-handed pitchers. Last week, I think it was like split down the middle. This week, it's 7 righties, 7 games on the road. They get Miami and Milwaukee. So, man, like Jake Fraley's out there, again, not at home, but Fraley's kind of swinging it better. Like, I'm still not in love with it. Just tough with this Reds team. The good players are all rostered. The platoon players just haven't been super productive.
Yeah, I'm pulling Fraley up over the last month. He is hitting 300, 2 homers, 3 steals. So I think this is a good time to play that weekly streaming game with Jake Fraley. A lot more hard contact over the last month for Fraley as well. So maybe he's starting to turn things around. Will Benson, I'm not as high on, but I definitely like Fraley this week as a rental. I think those 7 righties, I think he'll play, and it's a pretty easy schedule, man.
And get Fraley now because next week, the following week, they have 6 games all at home, and right now it's all right-handed pitchers again.
Oh, geez. 13 righties in a row?
At least, yes. So, in 6 games, it's St. Louis, Gray, Fede, Gibson, obviously subject to change, long ways out. But then Kansas City, you get Lorenzen, Waka, and Singer, who they're pitching good, but Great American 6 games, all righties could help a ton as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's the time of year to look ahead, especially if you're low on FAAB dollars, folks. Start getting them a week early for cheap. That's the way to do things right now.
Just wait till we unveil our 3rd episode of the week next year, which is the 2-week look ahead of FAAB.
Hey, that's where the real money's made. That's where the real money's made. Now we have a 3rd idea, but we'll talk about that some other time. Cleveland Guardians, 7 games next week. They got Arizona at home for 3, and they go on the road to Minnesota for 4. All right-handed pitchers for the Guardians, who are, I was told, the best team in baseball right now. So if you want to get some Guardians, get at it, but there's not a ton I'm looking to do with 7 righties on the docket.
Yeah, because it's your somewhat line change of Andres Jimenez, Schneemann, and Bo Naylor. Bo Naylor's been picking it up a little bit lately. I don't know if you've noticed, but
he went deep again on Tuesday.
Yeah,
or Thursday. Sorry.
So I like Bo Naylor he's probably on waivers in 2-catcher leagues and a lot of them. So that could be worth a shot in a 7-game righty week. Lane Thomas has hit second both of his games, although both against lefties. There's been talk maybe that there's a platoon here. We will definitely find out. I don't think there will be. I think Lane Thomas plays every day.
Be a horrible trade if so.
Yeah. And then that's about it. We've got Uncle Ted just naming names in the chat in pure Uncle Ted style. He's got Angel Martinez time. Angel Martinez has admittedly not done too much with
not at all.
With his playing time this year, hitting 230, 2 homers, 2 steals, with like no hard contact. So I might be dropping actually on Angel Martinez in my 15.
I would never have rostered him. The other Cleveland Guardian bit of news is we should get Alex Cobb back middle of next week. He's going to have a rehab start, I believe Friday, and then he will be back with the team middle of next week, barring anything else going on. So that's another guy to start stashing. He's projected to face the Twins, because this is a fun schedule. The Guardians face 3 games in the beginning of the week, then 4 games in the second half of the week because they have a doubleheader against the Twins on Friday. So if you're playing that whole game, you got that going for you as well. All righty, we got the Colorado Rockies coming at you here. 6 games, all in Coors Field. 3 against the Mets, 3 against the Braves. 2 lefties and 4 righties for the Rockies. You know, I heard Jake Cave loves to hit right-handed pitching, so you got that going for you. I'm joking. Toglia would be the only guy if you haven't done it yet, but that'd be about it.
We both saw pre-show Jake Cave go deep off of your boy, Hunter Strickland.
I think he probably took him deep 15 years ago when they both debuted, too.
Yeah, and I made the comment that Jake Cave, man, he looks, to make an awful pun, he kind of looks like a caveman. He's got like a graying beard and a little shaky, but looks aside, I would not roster Jake Cave. I agree with you on Toglia. Premier power guy with the pretty bad batting average. Other than that, not much to do here.
Not much at all. Let's go to the Detroit Tigers. They have 6 games this week, all on the road. 3 at Seattle, 3 against the Gigantes. 2 lefties and 4 righties on tap right now. And, you know, Malloy is kind of quieted down again. I think he'll be super streaky the rest of the way. I'm not too interested. Like Dylan Dingler at catcher, he gets to play a ton with Carson Kelly out of the way. Big-time prospect. Hit well at AAA, even stole some bags. So I guess if you need a catcher too, Dylan Dingler would be a guy to look at. Other than that, I'm not too excited about Detroit.
We also in terms of throwing names out there, Uncle Ted has been throwing out. I'm going to mispronounce this. It's Bly Madras?
Bly Madras, yeah.
28-year-old journeyman hitting. You know, he's 9 for his first 26, hitting 346, but don't think you go there either. So no, not too much. I will continue to go after Wensiel Perez, but other than that, I don't know. Yeah, Dingler to me is like, unless you're really desperate for a second catcher, but rarely does someone just come up and start hitting as a catcher.
Yeah. Michael C. mentioned a guy that I picked up last week and got made fun of. Victor Vodnik is pitching great as the closer for Colorado. Picked up the win on Thursday, got the save earlier in the week. So if you want a closer and you want to deal with Colorado, Vodnik could be a dude. That's for sure.
Yeah, we got to watch pre-show the Victor Vodnik versus Hans Kraus duel, and not a James Bond villain movie, an actual baseball game between those two.
I thought I was watching Bloodsport. It was so much fun. All right, let's go to the Houston Astros here. They got 6 games coming up this week, all on the road against Texas and Boston. 2 lefties, 4 righties on tap for the Astros. Doesn't do a whole lot for me, unfortunately.
Agreed. I keep trying to wish and will a Chas McCormick rebound, but it's just not happening this year for him. Outside of that, there's the Dominic Smith-esque John Singleton sitting there at first base, but no,
sitting's the nice term.
Yeah. Just real quick, Framber Valdez looked very, very good in his most recent start. I know it's not really FAAB stuff, but led baseball the day he pitched in both swinging strikes and strikes thrown. So maybe a turnaround down the stretch for Framber.
That's a couple good starts in a row for Framber, so that's good to hear. Indeed. Kansas City Royals, they have 5 games this week. They got Boston for 3 at home and then 2 at home versus St. Louis. So they will be another one of the teams, the Kansas City Royals, that that only has 2 games in the second half of the week. Right now, we're looking at 1 lefty and 4 righties for the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah, so even like I know we talked a little bit about Kyle Isbell last week, but I think it was a 7-gamer, or I guess this current week was a 7-gamer, so maybe some Kyle Isbell, but not in a 5-game week. Even Mount Massey, even Michael Massey, I'm maybe looking for someone else that first part of the week, even though it is pretty right-handed centric and it's pretty soft schedule. But that's all I got for the Royals.
I'll bring up MJ Melendez. He was swinging it really well before going on the IL with a hamstring injury. He came back recently, and he's got he had 2 hits on Tuesday. So the average is, it's not great, but he's got 4 home runs in July, which is what I'm looking at. We've always mentioned like the underlying metrics for a guy like Melendez has been pretty good. Just hasn't put it all together. It's 28% no Cs. Melendez could be a guy, again, it's a 5-game week, so it's not the most ideal situation. But if you, again, looking ahead, they got 3 at Minnesota, 3 in Great American Small Park. It's 2 lefties in Great American, so 4 righties, 2 lefties next week. That's subject to change, but could be a time to get back on the Melendez train. I think that's a guy to keep an eye on as well.
One other just real quick thing. We talked about this on the Tuesday show, but we don't really know what's going on with the closer situation in Kansas City. Actually, the last guy to get a save for Kansas City is Sam Long, who that was fluky. Yeah, I don't think he's in the picture, but it's somewhat of a 3-man race between Lucas Erceg, Hunter Harvey, James MacArthur. Of that 3, James MacArthur did get a save on Monday, but has been pretty rough lately. I know we have Anthony Gialdi in the chat, resident Kansas City Royal expert, who I believe thinks who I believe is on Team Hunter Harvey. So take that for what's that one is worth as well. I think any of those. Right, yeah, you want Harvey, I think. Yeah. I think both Harvey and Erceg are going to be cheap in FAAB, which should be nice, unless Kansas City just comes out and either names a closer or tips their hand with a bunch of save ops this weekend. So just keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, I know people are always going for saves, but even if Erceg isn't the closer, he's going to get a lot of good 7th and 8th inning gigs. Strikeouts will be their ratios. Could run into some wins. Like, he'll pitch by at least 3 days a week. I think he still will have more viability than people think as the season goes on. So Harvey should be the closer according to Anthony, but I think if you can't get Harvey, Erceg will still be available for pretty cheap, and don't hate that at all. Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. They have 6 games coming up this week, 3 at the Yankees, 3 at the Nationals. The rare 4 lefty, 2 righty week when you're looking at Anaheim. Problem is I really don't want to take, Joe Adell. I definitely don't want Brandon Drury. I'm just pretty much staying away from this situation.
Yeah, I mean, we're just thoughts and prayers to the mascot. Yeah. Thoughts and prayers. This would be a huge week for the mascot with 4 lefties with Luis Rengifo. It sounds like so he hurt his wrist on was it just on a regular swing?
On a swing, yeah.
And it kind of looked bad, but it sounds like Rengifo is not going to go to the IL as currently stated, but I'm worried just because he did have that recent, his last IL stint was because I believe of the wrist as well. So we will be keeping an eye out for our mascot, but other than that, it's
Hunter Strickland. Go get your Hunter Strickland.
Yeah, go get your Hunter Strickland. Who did come in for the save Thursday night, and then, as I just mentioned, gave up a home run to the caveman, Jake Cave.
I think he still needs to go ahead Ben Joyce, everybody. Like, go ahead Ben Joyce. He's the dude. We talked about it on Wednesday, Tuesday, and Thursday now. He's been in the 8th inning. It was like 2-3-4 of the Rockies on Tuesday. It was top of the order on Thursday. So take with that what you wish.
It just depends on how, and I don't know who's actually pulling the strings in Anaheim. It might just depend how stubborn Ron Washington is.
Which is very.
Ron Washington, there was a Ron Washington quote a week or 2 ago where he did say Ben Joyce would be the guy if Luis Garcia was traded. And now obviously that didn't happen, but the way Strickland looked tonight, I agree with Anthony in the chat. Free Ben Joyce to close. Let's do it.
And something else I want to mention, and bear with me, this isn't as bad as Dominic Smith, but some might think it is. Carson Fulmer is someone to keep an eye on. I'm not saying go pick him up now. You can put him on your wait list. Deeper leagues might be viable. AL only could have some leverage. It's the Yankees this week, which I don't love. Next week, Toronto and Atlanta. That could not be great either. But what I want to mention, he made his 4th start with the team. He's been primarily out of the bullpen, but his last 4 outings involved starts. He's worked his way up to 6 innings, 6 shutout innings. With 8 Ks on or 1 run on Thursday with 8 Ks. He's had 7 or more Ks in 2 out of the 4 starts he's made, 3 earned runs or less on all 4 outings since he's been put back into the rotation. I'm not, saying he's a go get him guy, but someone to keep an eye on that we might talk about as a stream coming in the future weeks. As it's Fulmer, I believe it was the White Sox. He was the first round pick, 8th overall back in 2015, so it was a long time ago. But he's still only 30 years old. Who's to say he can't figure it out for a couple of months in some nice streaming spots? He's looked much better. He had I think around a 43% CSW on Thursday night. So Carson Fulmer, just keep him on your radar. That's all I wanted to say on that one.
I won't push back on that one. I won't go all Dom Smith on you.
Los Angeles Dodgers, they have 6 games coming up this week, all at home at Chavez Ravine. 3 against the Phillies, 3 against Pittsburgh. The Battle of Pennsylvania comes to town for the week. 2 lefties, 4 righties for the Dodgers. This is a team that is on the struggle bus of late. On the season, still has a huge WRC plus, but it's been falling backwards of late. Still good team, but falling backwards. So I don't have a whole lot I'm interested in this week.
No, I don't either. The only thing I would bring up, just kind of not really baseball related, but Freddie Freeman's kid, man, that's scary as hell.
Yep.
So it sounds like he's going to be okay, but it looked very, very sketchy there for a while in terms of like his body just kind of shut down. And Freddie Freeman, I don't think has played in about a week, taking care of more important matters.
Yeah, I saw that and I was thinking he got the call while in Houston, had to board the first plane he could get on and fly back. That would have been the worst 12 hours of my life. I think trying to figure that one out. Yeah. If I'm the Dodgers, why is there not a PJ set up for him to get on? Someone needed to organize something there, but that's another story for another day. But that's a tough one, and hopefully Maximus is the kid's name, still stays on the mend and does well, because people like you, I, and others that have kids, that would be a rough one. I can understand why Freddie's not on the field. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Miami Dolphins, Miami Marlins. They have
come on.
They have 7 games this week, all at home. They have Cincinnati for 4, Padres for 3, 3 lefties, 4 righties, which doesn't do a lot for the transition side of things. Kyle Stowers has been traded there. Connor Norby got put back to AAA. So not a whole lot there. I do want to highlight that Jake Berger has been crushing baseballs since the All-Star break. Just something to keep in mind, Ryan, for our little side bet we had.
Who's my fighter against Berger? Let me look that up.
I can't remember, but if we want to go farther back, we went back to July 13th, so about a week before the All-Star break. Berger's hitting 346 with 6 home runs over those 14 games. So I just want to throw that out there, that Berger has woken up in the second half just like he did last year. Someone to keep in mind. Not available in many OCs, but those of you that play in other formats, he's 100% OCs. But I know for a fact in Yahoo and ESPN, he is available. So go find some Jake Berger.
So the wager is Jake Berger versus George Springer. So that could be. We may both be winners of that one.
Yep, that's a good one.
It's a good call. I like that one. Yeah, we'll see. I did not realize Berger had been turning it around to that extent. So I like it. Couple other just quick Miami Marlins notes. Xavier Edwards hitting leadoff. Mentioned that on Tuesday. Nick Gordon is the everyday center fielder, it looks like. Started against a lefty this past week as well. You mentioned Kyle Stowers, Bubba. I don't know. It might be a platoon, and this is someone who had a 25% K rate in AAA and hit 240 despite I think 18 home runs in AAA. Max Meyer is back up, and then we talked about a 3-headed race for closer in some other team, Kansas City. We have a 3-headed race for closer in Miami, perhaps. Andrew Nardi, Anthony Bender, and then Calvin Dr. Foucher.
Oh, the doctor, the good doctor. Can he save the Marlins? We know it's a popular thing to do.
Yeah, I think pitched the ninth on Wednesday in a 4-run lead, and then pitched the 9th tonight when they were down 2. So I think the doctor might be the leader in the clubhouse in Miami. So I wouldn't, I don't know. I wouldn't socially distance myself from this situation.
The question is, will the Dr. Foucher get the shot? So that's all that matters.
He might.
And we'll see how that goes. But as Edgardo says in the chat here, Xavier Edwards has been red hot. Yes, we've been on that train for a while, up to 90% rostered in OCs. So 10% of your leagues still have him available, folks. Quit sleeping on that one. But the closing situation will be interesting. Hopefully Dr. Foucher gets it so we can talk about Dr. Foucher for the next few weeks around here because I have a lot of you guys like my dad jokes so much. I got a lot of Dr. Foucher ones for you.
It could get bad. I know we're trending on troubling territory, but we like to have fun. We like to have fun with this.
I just have a sense of humor, folks. If you can't figure that out by now. Milwaukee Brewers, they have 6 games coming up this week. 3 at the Atlanta Braves, 3 at home versus Cincinnati Reds. 2 lefties, 4 righties for your Milwaukee Brewers. Another team that's been kind of on the platoon roll, but with Christian Yelich. I'll keep pumping up Garrett Mitchell. I know it's been inconsistent, but the playing times there, like the pedigree's there. I'm very optimistic. He's still getting hits, just the power has not completely arrived, but like hit safely in 4 of the last 5 games. Like I'm a Garrett Mitchell guy, so that's the guy I'll keep pounding the drum for in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I've been looking at what the DH situation is since Yelich has gone out. It's mostly been Rhys Hoskins with a dash of Eric Haas and some others, but I don't know. Yeah, Garrett Mitchell, like I'm not bidding on. It's a strict platoon. It's a 4-game week, and I don't think he's quite honestly good enough yet to put my FAAB coin there.
Fine, be that way.
Yeah.
All right, we got the Minnesota Twins coming at you this week. 7 games. Get your line shift ready, folks. They have 3 at the Cubs, 4 at home versus Cleveland, 1 lefty, 6 righties. Matt Wallner, fix it, people. I keep wondering why he's so low rostered when it comes to your NFBC OCs. He's 39% rostered. Like he should be 90% plus for next week.
Yeah, ton of power. Like, dude,
he's hitting for average right now too since he got recalled.
Yeah, but he has a 43% strikeout rate.
Like, there's no way. When you hit piss missiles everywhere, it doesn't matter what you swing and miss at.
All right, Joey Gallo. All right. I'm a little lower on Matt Wallner than you are. Yes, the power is just absurd, but like, dude, you can't strike out over 40% of the time. That is.
Would you rather have Matt Wallner or Mike Toglia?
They're kind of the same guy, right? Like I'd probably take Wallner, but they're kind of the same guy.
I rest my case.
So do I. Because I don't like Toglia either, but you do. We're just arguing for no reason at this point.
That's what makes our people hate shows where everyone agrees on everything. Okay, so we got to argue.
What else? I agree. Wallner is Toglia, and I also will add that neither of them.
And Einhorn is Finkel. So yes.
Max Kepler's back in, which is good. He got hit. This was weird. He got hit with a throw to second base, and then called for hitter's interference, and it was a double. He struck out, walked across home plate during the throw, got hit in the head, and they called it a double play because he interfered with the throw. So that was pretty brutal.
Yeah, that's a rough one, but he's back, so that's good.
He's back. Yeah.
I've kind of given up on Larnach. If you're in a deep league, he'll get to play 6 games, so I get it if you need it, but I'm kind of moving on. I will tell the world that doesn't listen to Bench with Bubba that listens to this, I pretty much started dropping Brooks Lee everywhere. If you need some other positional help, like Lee's a better real life player than fantasy player at this point in time. That's just the brass tacks to it. So I'll take the L on that one. And I added guys like Xavier Edwards and other middle infielders we talked about last week. I dropped Brooks Lee in those cases. Just want to point that out there. Like if you're still starting Brooks Lee, he's entering the Gene Segura territory, folks.
I will also add David Festa to the mix. You've brought him up before, Bubba, but Festa, in 2 appearances since coming back up from AAA, has 13 strikeouts to 3 walks. Not fully stretched out, it seems. Like he is 73 and 68 pitches, so you might be at risk of not getting some W's. But David Festa looks good, and someone who I think, similar to kind of how we talked about, no, I'm not comping him to Jackson Holliday, but anytime you can kind of get the second time these prospects come back up, it's usually cheaper, and they have failed in the majors before, and there may be a time where they come back. So Festa's looked a lot better since he's come back from the minors.
Projected to start next week too, so that could be fun. All right, New York Mets on the docket here. 7 games next week. This is one of those fun ones that I need to even look at the road. Okay, so they face at St. Louis on Monday, then they go to Colorado for 3, Then they go to Seattle for 3. So they go St. Louis, Colorado, Seattle, all on the road next week, which is fun stuff for the Mets. 1 lefty, 6 righties for the New York Mets. This is a very good offense these days, and one of their newest outfielders could pay dividends next week, Ryan.
Yeah, we kind of, or at least I kind of crapped on Jesse Winker, just kind of thinking the trade from Washington to the Mets wasn't all that great, but I think we can start him, hold him, whatever, for an extra week here, because it is a righty heavy weekend. Starling Marte isn't
starting rehab next week. Rehab assignment.
Okay, so I think you're safe with Winker for another week or two. But my point still stands. The rest of season value for Winker, I'm pretty south on.
And I'll keep bringing up Jeff McNeil. He's actually playing well. Ride the hot streak while you can. I don't hate it. He's a very nice 69% rostered in OCs right now, if that's something you're into. But Jeff McNeil has been quite serviceable. Second base, outfield eligible. And in the month of July, Jeff McNeil is hitting 289 with 5 home runs, 15 runs, and 17 RBIs. So that'll play in a lot of formats if you're needing some help with Jeff McNeil. We'll go to the Bronx. The New York Yankees, they have 6 games this week, all at home versus the Angels and the Rangers. 1 lefty and 5 righties on tap. What are you liking in the Bronx?
A little bit of Oswaldo Cabrera, if he plays enough. It kind of has been a strong side platoon, but then Cabrera didn't play against righties Monday or Tuesday, but had been effective when in the lineup. Outside of that, I don't have much. Just Jazz Chisholm. Like, good God, awesome. He's been on fire. I think you had mentioned in your Fallers article, Fantasy Pros, which means a rebound is all but certain at this point. But Ben Rice has been on the struggle bus lately.
Been horrible.
Yeah.
What 2 things. Friday night, I'm looking forward to Jazz's first game as a Yankee in Yankee Stadium. That should be fun. That should be an electric sight. But the other thing I'll mention, and people probably hate it because it's a catcher, but Austin Wells is still only 53% rostered in OCs. Dude's hitting cleanup, and he's mashing. Like, should be playing over a lot of catch. Like, he's a top 12 catcher right now. If you're like in a single catcher league, he's a top 12 catcher. So you need to be moving and shaking at this point in the season and stop ignoring Austin Wells. All right, the Oakland Athletics, they have 6 games this week. White Sox at home for 3, at the Jays for 3. All right-handed pitchers. This is a week I've been dreaming about with this Red Hot A's team. Things I never thought I'd say to start the year.
Yeah.
Lawrence Butler's already rostered, but I got like J.J. Bidet, Seth Brown in deeper formats. I'm still a Max Schumann guy who's quieted down a little bit, but this is a good week. If you're an A's guy, plus the pitchers they face are not good.
Yeah, I just don't believe in the players though themselves. Like, Butler's been great, but like you said, he's rostered. Bidet, sure, but like Brown's not any good. And like you said, Schumann has cooled down quite a bit lately. So I don't know. I don't really know what you do in terms of pickups here.
You stream them for the week when they get to face the likes of Jonathan Cannon, Drew Thorpe.
It is like
Martin. Like, they get the White Sox like worst 3 pitchers, and then you got a struggling Chris Bassett. You have Yairo Rodriguez that might throw 4 or 7 innings. You never know. And then a depleted Toronto bullpen. You just play them for the week.
I guess I don't know. Like Miguel, I'll give you Miguel Andujar, who is 63%. Awesome. He's 63% rostered in 12 teamers. So I'll give you that one. Butler's everywhere. And Bidet. I'll give you Bidet. He's 63% owned as well in 12 teamers. Outside of that, dude, I don't think we're streaming Seth Brown or Schumann. Maybe Schumann. I'll give you Schumann too. All right, I'll give you some
good. Guys. Yeah, come on. You just named half the roster now. Here we go.
I did this name, and I didn't even bring up Brent Rooker, who didn't get traded, which was kind of weird. But yeah, so now that I just said don't pick up any A's, and then Shea Langoliers is fine as a catcher, why not?
Let's just keep going. Any interest in Abraham Toro? No, I won't.
No, the line gets strong.
Just draw the line there. That's fine. That's fair.
The line gets strong there.
Yeah. But they're only the best offense in baseball in the month of July. But let's wait and see more and see if we can trust them. I get it. It's okay. All right, let's head to Philadelphia here. 7 games on the week for the Phillies. They go to the Dodgers for 3, and then to Arizona for 4. It's a fun week for the Phillies. 2 lefties and 5 righties on tap here. Austin Hayes should still be available in a lot of leagues, and we talked a lot about him before. Only 20% rostered in 12s. So that'd be my primary target if you're looking for an outfielder on the Phillies.
that's the move. In a 7-game week, Austin Hayes is playing against righties and lefties, albeit hitting ninth. But whatever, the playing time's there, and Austin Hayes is widely available. One of my top outfield ads in FAAB this week.
The other question, though, is what are we doing with Hoffman or Estevez in the back end of that bullpen?
I mean, yeah, because I think it is a 2-man race. I think Jose Alvarado, that ship has sailed. I think if you have Hoffman and Estevez, you're just continuing to start both, because worst case, I think you still get a productive week. And in a 7-game week, why can't both of them get 2 saves? But if I had to pick today, if I had to guess who would get it, I would still say Estevez. But I think if you've got one of those guys, you're still rolling with them in a 7-game week. Like that's we talk about 7-game weeks with hitters. For relievers, that's pretty underrated too.
Yep, 100%. And the thing that I think is kind of sucks, but I agree, Estevez probably becomes the guy. Hoffman's the better pitcher. So
Agreed.
He could be the leverage guy, and that could lead to Estevez getting the saves. That could be the fun part about it as well. So, yeah, I think both are rosterable. Just realize you're not going to get all the saves in that scenario. Pittsburgh Pirates, they have 6 games this week, 3 at home versus San Diego, 3 at the Los Angeles Dodgers. All 6 games are right-handed opponents for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I kept thinking Rowdy Tellez was struggling, but then I looked at his numbers. And he's just not hitting for as much power, but he's still actually hitting good, which made me feel better about life. He's like hitting hits every other game now instead of every game, so I can live with that in Rowdy's world. What else do you like in Pittsburgh?
I truly have nothing for this one. Nothing has really. So
it's tough. It's tough because like Brian De La Cruz was already rostered.
Right.
That doesn't do anything. So yeah. I'm just looking at it, and there's still nothing to really. Luis L. Ortiz, are we still on that?
Joey Bart's a little better lately.
Maybe. I think he's still a deep catcher too, if you need him. But I do like him, but a deep catcher too.
Yeah.
San Diego Padres, they have 6 games this week, all on the road, 3 at Pittsburgh, 3 at the Miami Marlins, 1 lefty and 5 righties for the San Diego Padres, a team that just took care of business against the Los Angeles Dodgers in a stadium that does not smell like urine. So that's great. What do you like in here?
Despite what signs may
that sign made me laugh so much just as a Giants fan. There's really nothing we can do with, like we say weekly with the Padres. They're all pretty much locked and loaded. I guess bullpen situation.
That's where I was going to go. Like if you have Tanner Scott, what are you doing with Tanner Scott?
It's Robert Suarez's world, but it's similar to like the Hoffman Estevez thing. I think Scott might get, if there's like 2 out of 3 lefties coming up or something, you might see a Scott save, but it's a lot of what ifs, and so that's tricky. The Tanner Scott one's really tricky because I don't see an avenue for him getting a good. I don't even see him getting half the saves. I think it's like 60-70% for Suarez at least.
I think I'm with you, if not more. I think so. I have Scott in 115 teamer. My current plan is to wait this out another week until we get a better tell. But
smart.
I can't blame you for dropping Tanner Scott if you need to make moves. If you've got what if we frame it this way? Would you rather pick up a Hunter Harvey, a Dr. Foucher, a Luis Garcia in place of Scott? That's a tough call. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really tough call. If you're in desperate need of saves, you just move on and get someone for the week and try to roll those dice. But that's very, very tricky. I am with you 110% on that one. That glad I'm not in that situation in many places. Let's put it that way. But I tend to agree with your first stance there. Wait a week and see how it plays out a little more before you make any rash decisions on that.
Another name to throw in there. We glossed over this while I was crapping on the A's and then naming all their hitters. Is we didn't touch on the A's closing situation. So Tyler Ferguson is another one while Mason Miller is out. That's another closer to think about this weekend. Yep.
Add to the list. Mason Miller should be back in say 10 to 14. Basically, once his cast comes out, so I say 10 to 14 days. We'll see Mason Miller back. So you get 1 to 2 weeks of Ferguson, unless something setback takes place with Miller. All right, San Francisco Giants. They have 7 games coming up this week. They're 4 at the Nationals, 3 at home versus the Tigers. 4 lefties, 3 righties, which sucks for the platoon situation with the Giants. But before we get into that, I do want to mention they're calling up Jer Encarnacion on Monday. 26-year-old, started the year in Mexico. Giants signed him. He's played in the bigs before. He played 33 games at AAA this season, and Encarnacion is hitting. He's hitting 352 with 10 home runs. He's gonna take David Villar's spot, so he'll be platooning versus left-handed pitching. So if you're in daily leagues, they face Andrew Habit on Friday, so that's a fun one if you can pull it off. Just wanted to mention that when it comes to the hitting side of things before we talk pitching with the Giants, which actually has something.
What do they have? Birdsong?
Hayden Birdsong will be a regular in the Giants rotation until told otherwise, and Hayden Birdsong is only 40% rostered right now.
Yeah, I like that. He'll start, looks like, well, yeah, Tuesday. He'll be back. Yeah, I like Birdsong. He had that like epic game before, I think it was his last start before getting sent down. Had like just a ton of whiffs and Ks. Yeah, so he'll be good. I did not know Marco Luciano was called back up.
He got called up when Soler got traded to be the primary DH. I'm still waiting to see what happens when Mark Canha joins the team on Friday in Cincinnati. That's what I want to see, because to me, Canha is just basically another Jorge Soler for the Giants. So I'm trying to figure out how Luciano sticks, even though that's what like Farhan says they want to see what Luciano can do. I'll believe that as far as I can throw it, basically. So I want to see how things play out in Cincinnati this weekend, because Luciano was crushing it at AAA before he got recalled. So I guess in deeper formats, Luciano could be worth a look. I'm hesitant on that one.
Okay.
All right. The silence is deafening on that one. Seattle Mariners, 6 games coming up this week, all at home. Detroit Mets, 4 lefties, 2 righties. Makes things quite difficult with Seattle.
Yeah, I'm still a sucker for Dylan Moore, who was really good against lefties. So in a 4 lefty week, I like Dylan Moore. I get that his batting average is down, but man, an impact stolen base guy with some pop. Outside of that, I think we've talked about Victor Robles enough at this point, who is hurt and actually has been hurt throughout his recent hot streak. So it doesn't sound like the hip injury is all that serious, and Robles will be back. But other than that, I don't have much here, man. Jorge Polanco hurt his knee, so if you have Jorge Polanco,
he's been dealing with that forever. They said like it's like the second time this past week he's been pulled for the same thing. So
he's an old as well. So
yep. If it's not your back, it's your knee or your elbow or something. That's just what happens when you get old and get out of bed in the morning. St. Louis Cardinals, they have 6 games coming up this week. 2 lefties, 4 righties as they take on the Mets for 1 at home, the Rays for 3 at home, and then go to Kansas City for 3. So that's 6 games. Oh, because they only face Kansas City twice over the weekend. So 4 games in the first half of the week, 2 games over the weekend for St. Louis, and makes for a fun week of 2 lefties, 4 righties.
Yeah, that's a weird ass schedule, isn't it?
Yes. No Sunday game.
Cool moment with Tommy Pham hitting a grand slam. I think his first game back.
Yep, pinch hit
with the Cardinals. Yes, that's right. We talked about it Tuesday. So never mind. I don't think he plays much.
Nope.
He's a platoon against lefties only. So other than that, I don't think anything with the Cardinals has changed. Ryan Helsley blew a save tonight, took a loss. That was uncharacteristic of him.
Yep, that's very uncharacteristic. Tampa Bay Rays, they have 6 games coming up this week, 3 at St. Louis, 3 at home versus Baltimore, all right-handed pitching, and that kind of sucks for the whole idea of playing like a Johnny DeLuca or something like that. So, like, I'm not playing Taylor Walls. Josh Lowe might get to play every day, which is kind of fun for once. But other than that, there's really not a lot I'm looking at when it comes to the FAAB side of things, except Jeffrey Springs, who should be available for you.
Yes, Jeffrey Springs. That'll be fun bidding, though he did only go, I think, 3 2/3 in Springs' debut this year. But that is a very talented pitcher being added to the FAAB pool. I will also nominate, Jose Caballero, but he is 91% rostered in 12 teamers on the NFBC. I did not realize it was that high. So I guess scratch that. But Caballero, I think, is going back to playing at least almost every day, if not most days, and a really good stolen base source. Just
remember when Jeffrey right now, he's going through his Springs training, so it's okay.
Oh,
all right.
Like, when did you think of that?
When you're talking about Jose Caballero.
All right, good. Because that was bad. Like, if you were sitting on that for a couple of days, I'd be very disappointed.
These things come naturally to me. They come right from the hip, so don't you worry about that. Texas Rangers, they have 6 games coming up this week, 3 at home versus Houston, 3 at the New York Yankees, 3 lefties, 3 righties. I think I'm just going to pass on this team this week.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, there's no movement. There's no change. There's like literally nothing to change here. Andrew Heaney, for as much as I have sung his praises as somewhat more back into home run Heaney. Yeah, a little bit south lately, but hey, it's been a fun run. Yeah, I got nothing else.
All right, Toronto Blue Jays, they have 6 games this week, all at home, 3 versus Baltimore, 3 versus Oakland, 2 lefties, 4 righties. Are you going to the Joey Loperfido train? Addison Barger should get some playing time. I'm not really interested in either one of those, though. So I guess in the end, let me just check the roster rate real quick. Chad Green's the closer, but he's 97% rostered, so that kind of sucks. But he's less than 60% in Yahoo. Tell you about that. But what's your thoughts on Toronto?
Yeah, the team that I think a bunch of folks thought might sell and did not. They pretty much stood pat. So with the exception of Jimmy Garcia, unless I'm missing something else.
You say Kikuchi.
Oh, you're right, Kikuchi. Never mind. Did keep the lineup mostly intact though. Yeah, Joey Loperfido hit second, so it's kind of a nice spot to hit between George Springer and Vlad Jr. if that sticks. But I still think this is a platoon guy who we really have not seen much in terms of skill from Loperfido so far this year. So I'm not really that interested in Joey.
Yep, I'm with you on that one. And then the last team we have here is the Washington Nationals. 7 games coming at you here, all at home. They get the Giants for 4, and then the Angels for 3. 2 lefties, 5 righties. Nothing really standing out because unless Juan Yepes is still available, I think he's still worth a look for sure. Other than that, I'm not too excited about a lot of the Nationals here.
That's where I was looking because when you brought him up, I was like, who took Lane Thomas's spot in the order, hitting second between Abrams and James Wood? And it is Juan Yepes. So I think even more reason to roster him if he's hitting second, playing every single day. So
yeah, he's up to 97% in OCs. People are catching on. That is good to see because didn't feel that way for a while. I will mention my normal DJ Hurst take against the Giants this week. Yeah. I just like his underlying metrics are so very good. Like there's something there that I feel like the last 2 months of the year we're gonna have a handful of starts where he's gonna get you 10 plus strikeouts a couple times. And it's gonna be freaking glorious. So just keep him on your radar for the proper matchups.
And hers is only 22% rostered in 12 teamers. So
yeah, I like him quite a bit. But all right, that wraps up our 30-team schedule preview for those that have stuck around. It's getting fun this time of the year, especially after the trade deadline. A lot of moving and shaking going on there. So, Ryan, while we're at it, let's talk about most added and most dropped. We'll start with the hitter side of things on CBS. And look who's at the top of the list. Oh, my goodness. That brings a smile to my face.
Austin Wells, number 1. Ownership has doubled from 17 to 34%. Yeah,
absolutely beautiful.
Damn,
beautiful.
Man. You all right over there? Simmer down.
I'm good. You can take the rest of the show. I'm gonna sip on my Celsius and have a good time now.
It's just Austin Wells, man. No, that was a good call out. He has been hitting like a top 10 catcher, and that spot in the lineup that's awesome. I believe this was mentioned earlier in the chat. I have an L to take from courtesy of Edgardo.
Yep.
We have Gavin Lux as a top riser from 15 to 24%, who I kind of crapped on, and I will accept my loss there. I can't. If I'm gonna dish Jordan Montgomery, I can take Gavin Lux.
Yeah, just another thing here with Lux here. He's hit safely and all, but he's like 3 games since the All-Star break, hitting 429, 3 homers, 10 RBIs. So Lux has been good. I'm just getting nervous with all the guys coming back here in the next couple of weeks for the Dodgers. How does that play out? Not to mention all the trades they made, but for now he's hitting, so he's going to play. So that's a beautiful thing.
Yep. Nolan Shanwell's a riser and shouldn't be. I don't know. Austin Hayes again, probably.
Sean Wells hitting very good. He's hitting very, very good right now.
He is.
Yes. Do you want me to? I'll get you those stats as well. Even His month-to-month WRC plus and OPS continued to jump.
Give me your
let's
stats while
let's talk. He had one hit on Thursday.
Wow, one whole hit. Damn.
Oh,
pretty good.
God. That's one more hit than you. In the month of July, 316, 3 homers, 13 runs, 12 RBIs. Since the All-Star break, if you'd like a shorter sample size, since the All-Star break, he's hitting 389 with those 3 home runs, all since the All-Star break with 10 runs scored and 6 RBIs. Almost a 20% walk rate.
That's more power than I thought. So, all right. Yep. I like it. Still a 4% barrel rate on the year. So,
yeah, let's real quick before we move on. Since the All-Star break, 11.5% barrel, still only like a 35% hard hit though. So that's rough.
Yeah. Austin Hayes, I will just reiterate, up from 6 to 14%. I think is one of the top ads this week. Got some random like Dylan Dingler. We're not really in on. I don't know why Jorge Polanco this is probably like a week old, where he had his
home runs everywhere, man. When he's been hitting a lot of home runs lately.
It's mostly just a kind of a reactive to what Polanco did, but as we mentioned, he hurt his knee again, so we'll see what happens there. Here's your boy Wallner, up from 10 to 13%, so rising. Look at that deep red strikeout
rate.
Look at that we've got on
dark green right next to it, though. Good Lord.
Yeah, put them all together, and again, Joey
shake
Gallo
them all about,
of that.
do the hokey pokey, and he hits another home run
and strikes out. So. Who else? Pedro Leon. We did not bring up with Houston. Did he get called up?
He got called up. I don't think he's played yet. That was the one I was looking at earlier. So he's one that a lot of power and speed in the minors.
This is a prospect with the Astros.
Yeah. Hit for average. I know when I was talking with the Welsh about him, he was kind of like, yeah, I don't know, because I guess the talent people aren't the biggest on him, but yeah, he got called up, and he didn't play versus a lefty or a righty the first 2 games he's been called up. So not sure where he fits in the Astros system.
So yes, we will not be adding Pedro Leon.
Like the minor league numbers look awesome, but I'm just not sure where that pans out.
Okay. We have an Oakland A, Max Schumann.
Yep.
So there you go. In a 7-game righty week.
Look at that SBA. That SBA is like light green.
No, like honestly a nice, pretty all around skill set there with some speed. So I don't mind it. Miguel Vargas, just to kind of drive that one home again, up from 9 to 11% only. So very widely available in leagues and hitting second for the White Sox. We did not bring up Travis d'Arnaud, who had a 2-homer game this week as well, continuing to post some excellent skills and grab playing time from Sean Murphy in Atlanta.
Hey, real quick, as we're transitioning to the pitcher side of things here, we have a question in the chat from Michael C. Is Honeywell a closer spec? Was surprised LA didn't prioritize Scott because Phillips has been bad. Hudson, the other night we were watching the game, Hudson and Phillips didn't even get pitch period when Glasnow lost, and Trinan came in and blew it. So they didn't even go to the 2 guys that have been getting save chances. They went to Trinan, and then you had Honeywell, who's got a couple saves over the last couple of weeks. So to Michael's question, is Honeywell a closer spec? I think it's a long shot, but I get it.
Agree. I agree. It's a long shot, but I get it. I mean, he does have the most recent save for LA, unless I'm misremembering. I'm pretty sure he has the most recent one. But I just think no one knows what Dave Roberts is going to do, and I don't know. A closer spec, but only if you have room to hold. Like I'd probably take Foucher, probably take Ferguson, even if it's for a couple weeks.
I'd take Vodnik.
Vodnik. I don't know. I'd go with those guys over Honeywell at this point.
Even though you can't go wrong with the good doctor. All right, let's talk pitchers. And atop the list, one Hayden Birdsong with a 20% difference. That is outstanding, and rightfully so, because the dude's been awesome and now actually has a gig.
Yep. Bright green on our sheet here, which is skills of strikeout minus walk, swinging strike rate, and then ball percentage. Ton of missed bats for Hayden Birdsong, 18% K minus walk. One of your top, if not the top, starting pitcher ad. Like, would you Springs, Cobb, or Birdsong?
That's Birdsong. Yes, Birdsong.
Okay. What if we threw now River Ryan is one of the top ads, up from 29 to 43%, but I don't know I don't know. I've been saying this for 2 weeks, and he's been in the rotation. I just don't know how long he stays in the rotation.
Yeah,
kind of depends what they do with Buehler.
Yeah, Buehler was so bad in his rehab start on Thursday. We were talking before the show. Took 86 pitches to get through like 3 1/3. So I don't know if that's the pitch count they wanted to get to, because they wanted to raise the pitch count, but the way he got there might not be a priority. So I like River Ryan. I just can't break the bank for him, knowing he could disappear at any moment.
We've got 3 closers next: Chad Green, Luis Garcia, Tyler Ferguson. Both up. Chad Green's up to 37%, CBS, Garcia up to 12%, and Ferguson 9%. Out of those 3, that's kind of how I'd actually rank him: Green, Ferguson, Garcia. That may change depending on Kenley Jansen's back.
I'd probably still keep it Green, Garcia, Ferguson. Joyce is right above them. Where would you put Joyce into that?
God, it's so tough, man. I mean, given what we saw from Strickland tonight, we're hedging that Washington makes the change and Joyce is in the 9th, but I think I'd go. I think I'd go Green, Joyce,
yes,
Ferguson, Garcia. I mean, I think Green is the guy in Toronto. So
100%. I go Green, Joyce, Garcia, Ferguson. So you and I have Garcia, Ferguson flipped, and I think we both agree. Kind of depends. We're both kind of on the same page with them. It's just kind of it's probably 3A and 3B. If you look at the list, just pick your A and B.
Well, and then you've got also we'll talk about this.
Oh, look at that guy you just highlighted.
Then we've got Lucas Erceg and Hunter Harvey too. Just it's a wild. This is the most interesting closer FAAB.
Andrew Nardi down there. Foucher's not even on this list. Like, there's a lot of guys to spec on.
Yeah. But yes, we must bring up that Trevor Rogers is up from 14 to 22% in CBS leagues. Look at those all red skills. I was
about to say, can you talk about his skill set real quick, please? Because that is
my hunch is that this is like AL only leagues in CBS, right? With Rogers coming over from the National League to the American League, and it is a starting pitcher that will pitch every 5th day. Trust me, I've been there in an AL only league. It is that bad. But I will beat the dead horse and not recommend Trevor Rogers.
Yeah, that's a rough one there with the good old Trev, who I feel bad to keep beating him down, but it's a rough go. After that though, Ryan, it's like I didn't mention it with Texas. Tyler Mahle is expected to return to the Texas rotation next week, so that's a guy to look into. He threw 4 1/3, I believe it was, or 5 1/3 in his last rehab start. So Texas is bringing him back. Next week, he's projected. Well, right now they have him 2-step in it, which would be a shocker. Houston and the Yankees, not the best 2-step to start back with life. But Mahle will be rejoining the Texas rotation, so that's probably one reason why he is up 5% to 13% right now.
You're not a big Carson Spires guy, are you?
No. I was looking at him because he's pitching tomorrow. Or no, he pitched today, maybe. He's pitching this week. I don't know.
He has a 2-step. I think he had a 2-step.
That's what it was I was looking at then. Never mind.
He pitched. He got the win on, I think, Monday against the Cubs. 5 innings, 4 Ks, 1 hit, no earned.
He's got the Giants this weekend.
That's interesting. It's just someone who, like, the strikeout upside is low, but on when away from Great American Small Park, I think Carson Spires is streamable.
Weirdly enough, your boy is not on this list, and we didn't mention him either with Philadelphia, but Tyler Phillips, if Taijuan Walker doesn't come back, that's the big if. So keep an eye on that. Right now, Taijuan Walker is expected back next week. But if you are in a daily league, Phillips faces Seattle on Friday. We know how that could go, so that's a fun one.
Other than that, I'm not seeing anything else on this list in terms of starting pitchers, at least.
I will mention JP Sears is a phenomenal stream. Like a recent first pitch I did, I highlighted 3 guys that made 5 or 6 starts in the month of July, and like 4 out of the 5 or 6 starts, 3 earned runs or less, and they each got like 3 or 4 wins. And JP Sears was one of them. So I was just trying to point out that there's guys that we like to clown on a lot, or a lot of, not maybe us, but get clowned on a lot, that are very, very serviceable streamers that should not be ignored in the right matchups. And JP Sears is one of those guys. Like next week, he gets the White Sox and the Jays for a 2-step. Like that should be an option for sure.
Speaking of good matchups, can we interest you in a home start against the White Sox?
Yahtzee. So that's what you're looking for right there. So I just wanted to highlight that when I saw he's up to the 30 percentile area there on CBS as well.
I mentioned David Festa. He is on the CBS ad list. I'm very high on Festa the rest of the way, so I like that. And just one final FU from CBS. We have Ryan Feltner up from 3 to 5%. I think pitched tonight at the Angels and gave up.
Only gave up a couple of runs because it's the Angels. But yes, he did.
So to wrap it all up, in terms of starting pitcher wise, so closers, and we've talked about there's just a lot. So monitor this weekend usage, but a big closer week in FAAB. I think we both like Hayden Birdsong probably the most of any starting pitcher. I really like Festa, and then I feel like there was one other guy.
There's Alex Cobb's coming up. Tyler Molly's coming back. You had JP Sears. There wasn't much in the starting pitching world.
Yeah. So I don't know. A couple names at least, but prioritize Birdsong.
Yep, prioritize Birdsong at all costs if you need starting pitching, or if you don't, but just want to block your friends. So that's an option as well. All right, let's two-step it up here and see what we got this week. Start with the Arizona Diamondbacks. You're starting Zach Gallen. But if Erod comes back at Cleveland versus Philadelphia, I believe I'm sitting him on that.
Yeah, I'm sitting that. Given the no rehab that we talked about, and again, his sim games are like 3-4 innings. So the win probability is low and 2 tough matchups.
Yeah, pretty weird stuff there. You're starting Chris Sale. You're starting Grayson Rodriguez. James Paxton at Kansas City versus Houston. That's a no for me, dog.
One James Paxton's bad enough. We don't need two James Paxton starts.
Cincinnati, Nick Martinez at Miami at Milwaukee.
You're not the biggest Martinez guy. I might roll with
it. I'm not anti-Martinez in a good matchup like this. You're not? Okay. It's not Great American.
I'm trying to look up his pitch counts.
I'm looking up his stuff right now too.
Because that's always the issue with Nick Martinez. Will he?
He hasn't made a start since 5/22.
And through 4 innings, 53 pitches in his most recent start. So I'd probably lean against Nick Martinez. I just don't think he's stretched out enough, unless it's a piggyback. Unless it's a piggyback roll.
Yeah, pay attention to news on that one. If he's the actual starter in those ones, that doesn't.
A lot of times you don't know that until like the day of the game. So it's hard to time that for FAAB.
For sure. Cleveland. Let's cross our fingers that Tanner Bybee makes a start there. Colorado, Kyle Freeland, Mets, Atlanta, both at home, and Freeland bounced back beautifully in his last start, but I'm not touching that one.
I don't think you can touch it, right? I mean,
no. I like Freeland for streams. This is not the stream I'm looking for.
The Mets and Braves at Coors, like the Braves, like Olsen and Riley they're
heating up.
Yes, so like they are starting to get scary again. I'm not doing that.
Yep, I'm out. Detroit, and this could change if they make some more moves because they're starting rotation is depleted, but for now, it looks like Alex Fado is going to rejoin the rotation. You got at Seattle, at the San Francisco Giants, and I don't hate that. He's been a long man in the back of that bullpen, and he's been actually serviceable. I just don't know how he'll stretch out. It's kind of like the Nick Martinez thing, I guess. But the matchup, Seattle strikes out so much, and then you got the Giants. It's just he's gone no more than 2 innings in a long time.
That's what I was going to say. You can't. This is you can't. He's not even the long man.
Those are great matchups.
Good matchups, but you got to go 5.
And if anybody's keeping track on Friday, you got Cole Reagans versus Tariq Skubal, so get your popcorn ready. Houston, Hunter Brown, you're going to do that. Angels, Davis Daniels back at the Yankees at the Nationals.
Nope. You know how I feel about Davis Daniels.
Yeah, nope. No. Hey, the creative player on Miami, Rotary Munoz versus Cincinnati versus San Diego.
You got to be pretty desperate, but
very desperate.
I think I think about it in 15s.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. But Max Meyer, I want to ask you about Cincinnati and San Diego. He has not looked great in his first 2 starts.
I'd still do it, but hasn't. I was looking up. He's 97% rostered in 12-teamers, so it's more not a pickup, but would you start him or bench him? So I think you roll with Meyer.
Colin Ray at Atlanta versus Cincinnati. No. Colin Ray was supposed to have a great 2-step last week. That got kerfuffled, so now he has this 2-step. God, I hate baseball sometimes. Fantasy baseball. Here's your boy David Festa at the Cubs versus Cleveland. I think your answer is yes.
It's beautiful. Yep.
Just hang on for the best team in baseball on the weekend, but take care of the Cubs. Sean Manaea at St. Louis, at Seattle. Add him everywhere you can.
Wow, it's a take. I like it. Fully agree.
I like Manaea a lot. I've been
struck out 11 in his most recent start against
Minnesota, which is a very good team.
Yep.
Severino at Colorado, at Seattle.
So that's tough.
been struggling
tough.
a lot.
He's been struggling, and my most recent speculator at HQ is about like September slowdown, shutdown guys. And not really in Severino's case, it's a shutdown. It's just like this guy has not pitched this deep into the season for a while. Like I could see this falling apart pretty quickly. So despite having a sub-4 ERA on the season, I think, God, the at Seattle's so good, but I don't know. It's very borderline of 15-teamers.
The one thing I'll say is the at Seattle is very good, but over the last week, it's starting to not be the same as Seattle, if that makes sense. Now, they're still striking out a good amount, but they're actually at least producing at the same time. So something to monitor. It's not the cakewalk it might used to have been, I guess I should say. Yankees, Luis Eel versus the Angels versus Texas, yes.
Yeah.
JP Sears versus the White Sox at Toronto. This might be one of the best streams of the week, folks.
Of course. I like it.
Make a note of that one.
Yep. I'm just doing the same thing for my own team. Sears is going to be cheap.
Yep.
He's going to be. No one likes
what I am making a note of right there. Aaron Nola. What do you do with your boy Christopher Sanchez at the Dodgers at Arizona?
You're throwing it for sure, but really like I said, when we did our starting pitcher recap, Sanchez hasn't been that great because the ERA looks good, but he's an extreme ground baller. So the whip isn't that great, and there's not the strikeouts, and only 7 wins for Philadelphia. So that's not that great either. So it's another case of us looking at, not us, but people looking at ERA and kind of overvaluing that, kind of the anti-Bailey Ober almost.
Yep, I would. I'm not. It's not an. I probably will start Christopher Sanchez, but it's not automatic. That'll be definitely depending on what I have available this week. Pittsburgh, Bailey Falter versus San Diego at the Dodgers.
Yeah, Bailey Falter at Dodgers.
Sub-4 ERA.
Yeah, that'll change. That'll change.
San Diego Padres, Matt Waldron at Pittsburgh at Miami. That's a good matchup.
That's great.
Really good. Yep. You're starting Castillo, Robbie Ray. You're starting Logan Webb. You're starting. Andrew Palante versus the Mets at Kansas City.
I thought he got booted from the rotation, but I guess Lance Lynn.
No, they left him in. They booted McCreevy after throwing a gem on Wednesday. It made 0 sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, I would not go with Palante here. No.
I was hoping it was going to be McCreevy, but we can't have nice things in St. Louis. Tampa Bay got Jeffrey Springs at St. Louis versus Baltimore.
That's going to be interesting because Jeffrey Springs is going to be a top ad this week, and if you add him and he has a 2-step, you're throwing it. But Baltimore always scares the hell out of me, and like we
Baltimore's quieting down quite a bit.
They still scare the hell out of me, though. They can not quiet down very quickly again. So I don't think. I think that's tough. I think he throws Springs because you just fabbed him, but it's sketchy.
All right, Tyler Mahle versus Houston at New York coming off the IL. I will pass.
I'll pass as well. Wait and see.
Chris Bassett versus Baltimore versus Oakland.
No.
I mean, yeah.
So, the 1927 A's or 1927 Yankees that are the A's. No, you don't do that.
Now you're acknowledging it. That's what I'm talking about.
Quick note on Jeffrey Springs from Edgardo in the chat, which neither of us mentioned that the fastball was down 2 miles an hour. I'm assuming Edgardo you mean from previous seasons, so that's not too surprising given the first start back, but certainly not. Fastball is not as effective as it once was if it's down 2 full ticks. So that's a great point.
And then the Washington Nationals, Patrick Corbin versus the Giants versus the Angels.
Really?
No.
Really?
What about Mackenzie Gore though?
He's falling apart, dude.
Really bad.
But I might throw. I have Gore and Tout, and I have been benching him. And that's a 15-teamer. I might throw this one because it is San Francisco's. They're good against lefties recently, right?
Yes, but they did get rid of Soler, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's a good point. They got rid of Soler.
They got Marcano, who's good versus lefties too. So who knows?
Yeah, I'd still throw it, but Gore is. It's been
gory. It's been gory.
It's yet another second. I'll just ignore that one. It's been yet another second half of falling apart for Mackenzie Gore. Seems to be a theme.
It is a theme. It is definitely a theme, like a horror theme. Any other thoughts on FAAB this week before we get to some listener questions? Because last week was middle infielder week. This week is all your speculative reliever weeks.
Yes, agreed. And yeah, yep, agreed. It's gonna be fascinating how relievers shake out.
All right, let's hit a few listener questions here before we head on out. Breaking Ben, our buddy Ben Tidd said, "Fellas, we need a prayer circle at the start of the show for the mascot." Yep, that is for sure. Michael C says, "I'll step in for Joe. The Jays, Kikuch, Bassett, Barrios lately. Gossman most disappointing rotation? Question mark. Man, that's pretty factual."
Yep, agreed.
From the start of the season. Michael Cicchini has a question for us though on Twitter as well. 15-teamer, drop one for Springs and Birdsong. Do you drop Kramer, Tyler Phillips, Festa, Luis Ortiz? He's leaning Ortiz, but man, Kramer is boring. I think Phillips is out of the rotation.
I would keep Phillips until we know he's out of the rotation. I'd drop probably Ortiz or Kramer.
Yeah,
definitely not Festa.
Not Festa for sure. So I guess I would drop Phillips. I think he's gone. But if you want to hold on, which I understand, I would drop Ortiz as well. And then Gerald Points says, 15-team mixed 8x8 keeper. Woo! Are you ready for this?
Whoa.
He has 2 trades on the table that could put him in the money. Trade 1. These players are for 24 and 25. So he gets them for this season and next. He gets Carlos Rodon, Kenley Jansen, Nate Lowe, and he wants to win now is what is the point is here. The opponent gets Wyatt Langford and Nolan Jones. He has Taylor Ward on his bench for Langford. Do you go get Rodon, Jansen, and Nate Lowe to try to win now?
I think you shop Langford elsewhere. I think you can get more. I like more. Rodon. I just don't know what we will get from Kenley Jansen the rest of the way. And yeah.
Yep. I think
it's a win now, but
I think you can get more for Langford. I agree with you. Yeah. I go higher for that one.
What's deal trade 2? What do we got? Plus, we don't know the categories, but whatever.
Yeah. Trade number 2. He gives up Cole Reagans for 24 and 25. But he gets George Kirby for just this year and Hunter Brown for so he gives up Reagans, who would have been good through 25, to get Kirby and Hunter Brown just for this year. I do that in a heartbeat.
I do that in a heartbeat.
If you're trying to win now, you go get Kirby and Brown right now for the last 2 months.
Because you have and keeper leagues with pitchers, you have no idea what they're going to be like next year, 2 years. Like, make that move for sure. I like that infinitely more than trade 1.
Trade 2, yes. Trade 1, get more for Wyatt Langford is what we would say.
There we go. Good.
All righty, we have a question in the chat from one Roger Bloomfield. He wants to know if we're doing the second. He wants to know if we're doing the invitational at the first pitch. Yes, we are on Sunday. Yeah, you contact your local son to get you set up with that one
to register. And actually, I must correct the question. It's the 3rd annual invitation.
It's his 2nd, I think. Did he play the first? I can't remember now. But yeah,
no, I don't think he did. Yeah, it's our 3rd year. We didn't brand it as golf's 5th major the first year, but
yeah, we got cocky after that. Stephen Crawford wants to know, does Crochet's production improve, or do we see more of what we have in July? I think we're seeing more of what we saw in July. The fact they didn't trade him, I think the White Sox slow play him the rest of the year. Like, there's going to be weeks where I don't think he's as automatic as a start as people think.
And I'm also wondering, why didn't the White Sox trade him? Because there probably weren't many people interested, because I think it's going to fall apart in second half for Crochet.
It's the drum I've been beating the whole time. Like, why would a contender trade for a guy that's basically already hit his wall? It just made no sense to me at all.
If you can trade, like, I think it's the most obvious sell high out there. But just
I can't remember what show I was listening to. There's a million. Maybe it was Eno or somebody. They still have so much control of him roster wise. Like, there was maybe 4 teams bidding for him at the deadline, where you can trade him in the offseason with the full workload, and every team might want to be interested because they can control his workload the whole year type thing. So now you have so many more options.
Yeah.
Because it's not like the White Sox are contending next year either. So go get some more players. So
yeah.
It makes sense as well. But all right, we'll wrap it up there, my friends. Any final thoughts as we head into another weekend, the first weekend in August, and we have 7 more FAAB weeks left. 7, because we have 8 weeks of baseball. 7 more FAAB weeks to go after this.
Still a lot of moving and shaking to do. And like I said at the top, we will move and shake with everyone. So appreciate everyone's support and listening to the FAAB previews. They have helped, I think, both of our teams a bunch this year. So
big time. Big time.
And like both of us, when we write our respective FAAB articles, it's kind of like regurgitating what we said on the show, but like we're just right in the mindset for doing that. And then we read our FAAB article. And honestly, by the time I do my own FAAB bids, I'm like, that's like the last that I do of all this stuff. It's content first, my own team's last. By the time I get to the FAAB bids, it's like I've talked about these guys for 3 to 4 days straight now.
Yeah, it's easy at that point because I already know exactly who I want to look for in every team. I'm like, okay, just search these guys, boom, 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 done. Because the format I've used for like 3 years now, and I was already putting interesting schedules for the week. I was already doing 2-step stuff, so it's almost exactly what this show is. But I put my thoughts on, like, I list out the players basically. That's the biggest difference, I guess, compared to just listening to the show. So, yeah, like you said, basically regurgitating the same thing over and over again. So. Always good stuff there. Again, if you guys have any questions, make sure you hit us up. We'll be coming at you with boards or other topics on Tuesdays. As the season goes on, boards do get tougher because you're just trying to play the hot hand. So trying to see what you're looking for the last few weeks is not always the easiest of things. So we'll try to kind of put some different things out there to get you to the home stretch on Tuesdays. And then Thursdays, we'll keep coming at you with FAAB as usual. Make sure you hit up Ryan on Twitter at RyanBHQ, the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod. I am Matt Bedientrick. And until next time, this is Bubba and the Bloom, episode 157. Catch you all next time.